Hello, everybody. Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report, Monday's edition, broadcasting from beautiful Delray Beach, Florida. Happy to have you with us today. And folks, I especially would like to thank Tom Amintha and Joe Visconti as guest hosts last week. As they may have told you, I did come down with a positive COVID test last week. Did the show Monday, Tuesday, but just Wednesday, Thursday wasn't quite up to it. I did want to let you know I'm about 90% better today. I did have Omicron, still do have it slightly, and I'll describe that experience a little bit later because it's quite prevalent here in the state of Florida. But we're going to get into that in a little bit, but I did want to let you know I'm about 90% back. It wasn't a surprise to me when I got it. I had experienced some of the symptoms that goes with Omicron. Never slight fever, coughing, sneezing, but that was pretty much the extent of it. A lot of rest, a lot of medication, and hopefully 90% better, and we'll be get this thing licked by the end of the week. But obviously, have to isolate. While I'm still positive. If I took a test today, I think I would still be positive. I'm not ready to get a negative test yet. But I'm just trying to follow the guidelines. And again, I was double vaxxed and had my booster shots. So I think like hundreds of thousands, maybe a million of other Americans, in my case, traveling on airplanes, wore a mask, tried to follow all the guidelines, but, still got it. So I don't know whether it's factually correct that because I was double vaccinated and had a booster shot, my symptoms were less or not. I'm not going to judge that, nor would I ever judge anyone's opinion for whether they're vaccinated or not vaccinated. I've encountered some people fairly close to me who have not been vaccinated that have cases milder than mine, and some have cases worse. So I can't really vouch for it one way or another. People said, well, if you could do it over again, would you get vaccinated and get your booster? My answer is yes. So, but having been through that and, wearing a mask going inside and on airplanes and in airports, somehow, some way I caught it. I don't know where. So, but having said that, I am thankful that so far it has not been what I would deem a serious case. Now, although it's not necessarily serious for yours truly, it is having a major effect on the president's credibility. I mean, the president continues to be out there talking about the need for people to be vaccinated, the need for people to get boosters, fact that there's mandates going on, that people are being fired for not getting vaccinated. Even Citibank announced over the weekend that they will be firing people who haven't been vaccinated. I think 90% of their workforce has. But his claims that he's going to contain the virus are, even in Democratic circles, are being sort of just viewed with a not so pleasant lens, because as all of you are aware by now, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, anybody can get this Omicron variant. It's that contagious, not as deadly, obviously, as the first two variants, the original COVID and then Delta, but nonetheless, it is causing hospitalizations around the country, some overcapacity. So when the president makes comments about, we're going to contain it, I think a more appropriate strategy might be to address the public about how we're going to deal with it on an ongoing basis. Because, unlike the Chinese, which are claiming they're trying to eradicate it, it doesn't appear to be a disease that can be eradicated. And it does appear one that, just based on the sheer size and scope and number of people getting this, that it is going to be something we're going to have to deal with. So what's going to be the longer term effects? We don't know. Will it lead to further herd immunity? Maybe. We don't know the answer to that either. Will individuals that got Omicron, will they have levels of, preventive antibodies? I mean, still too new to rate on that too. So, the administration's really in a little bit of a quandary here. As credibility questions. On a personal account, Chuck Todd of NBC News made the comment on his Sunday show, as COVID goes, so goes the Biden presidency. I think that's being a little too generous by Chuck Todd, but I think there's a lot of other factors leading to the Biden presidency and why his approval ratings are south of 40%. But when you add in the fact that this Omicron is clearly taking over in vast majorities of the country, and people vaxxed and no vax, booster, no booster, are getting this at a fairly significant rate. Here in Florida, 31% of all people being tested are coming down positive. And there's a lot of people being tested down here, folks, lots. It poses a problem for the Biden administration. So obviously we wish the administration the best as they handle this. We are disappointed in mandates. We don't want to see people fired, particularly for an experimental vaccine. But it doesn't seem, frankly, that the Omicron, unlike the first two cases of the virus, the original SARS-CoV-19 and the Delta variant, which were fairly severe in their lethality, Omicron doesn't appear at this point to be up to that level. But it's still early on. You never know how things are going to change. So we wish them the best, but hope they can get more common sense approaches to dealing with this and really not try to demonize people who are of a different opinion than they are. All right, let me get on in some insane stuff that came out over the weekend. We had high hopes for Eric Adams coming in as New York City's mayor. But my gosh, the new district attorney coming in New York has now said that they're going to be reducing sentences even for violent crimes such as armed robbery. They're now looking to make armed robbery a misdemeanor. Folks, if you ever had someone pull a weapon on you and rob you, you don't think it's a misdemeanor. I mean, other things that they're talking about, trespassing. Okay, could that be a misdemeanor? Yeah, I guess. Resisting arrest? Theft from stores, drug dealing, and they're trying to make some of these misdemeanors and not major crimes. Folks, that is insane. They've already got bad enough policies in these deep blue cities where crime is escalating off the charts. And, again, Eric Adams wasn't elected district attorney. He was elected mayor. But my goodness, hopefully he can cooperate, with the district attorney and they can get some insanity coming back to the city, because if they continue to allow crimes like armed robbery, resisting arrest, theft from stores, drug dealing, if they quit sentencing people for those and they become misdemeanors, people just will not go to New York. I mean, I don't know how hard it is to drill that into people's head. People do not want to go to a place where violent crimes such as armed robbery is treated as a misdemeanor. They don't want theft out of stores and drug dealing out on the streets to be misdemeanors. I mean, that's a case of district attorneys in these deep blue cities going way too far. So hopefully some common sense will come, because this district attorney is under withering fire for these comments. And, folks, in these deep blue cities, you get what you elect. And if that's what you all want, you're not going to have people coming to your cities, and it will lead to decay. Because people do not want to visit areas where there's crime running rampant and where serious crimes like armed robbery, theft, drug dealing, resisting arrest don't get treated as anything more than what they are. That's not good. And in other insanity news, God, New York, come on, Eric Adams, get together on the program here. New York City is now going to allow illegal immigrants to vote in local elections. Folks, in New York, illegal immigrants compose about 1 out of every 8 voters. So, again, more of this, what I just call bordering on insanity here. Why they're doing this, it makes no sense to most people, in the rest of America. I mean, I get the fact that people want to be progressive in these deep blue cities on the left and East Coast. But, man, just violating the rules of our Constitution, I don't sense that's getting there. So, folks, we've seen some of these experimental things tried in Los Angeles, New York. Gosh, even in Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, when the teachers decided to walk out and not teach school, even Lightfoot lambasted the teachers union. So maybe people will get some common sense that some of these far left-wing radical policies, they do not work. So I just can't conceive of, again, we're sharing with you what's going on out there, folks. And another thing, I don't know if it's hard to miss, last week, the mainstream media, they tried to trump it up January 6th like it was something out of Pearl Harbor or 9/11. I mean, that's ridiculous. We lost 3,000 Americans on 9/11 to a terrorist attack. Pearl Harbor, we lost thousands of Marine sailors. I mean, it led to the United States getting into World War II in the Pacific. I mean, for these Democrats, including Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, to try to gin up support among their base by comparing January 6th to that is a joke. It's an insult to everybody's intelligence. And the fact of the matter is, 76% of Americans do not believe January 6th was even an insurrection. Yeah, was it a riot that got out of hand? Yeah, you could say that, no question about it. But to call it anything like 9/11 or Pearl Harbor, again, this is when Harris and Biden, they try to, string it along, go for their base, gin them up. Why? They're not voting on anything now. The next election's not till November. And yet here they are, Biden and Harris, giving their speeches that their handlers prepared, making it sound like it was something that it wasn't. And the majority of the country, folks, out of 20 issues, if you rank 20 issues of what Americans really care about, do you know what are number 19 and 20? Climate change and January 6th. That's right. The very bottom of every issue out there that could be considered, climate change is 19. And the only reason January 6th is listed, they had to list 20 issues. If it wasn't listed, it wouldn't even make the top 20. And yet, what do these Democrats do? From President Biden to Vice President Harris, they waste time and they try to gin up their base. And it's just insane what they're trying to do. So, then they try to associate that with voting rights. Biden's going down to Georgia to talk tomorrow about it. Schumer's pressuring senators, says he wants to get rid of the filibuster. While he's looking to do that and force votes, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema are sitting back saying, we favor the filibuster. We're not going to do a carve out. Look, the late Harry Reid, last time he did a carve out for justices, it backfired on him, and Donald Trump ended up appointing Supreme Court justices. The likelihood is Republicans are going to take the Senate this November. So again, it's Schumer placating to the far left-wing base. And, Manchin and Sinema do not want to see changes to the filibuster law. So Manchin's right. See if they can get some bipartisan agreement on certain pieces of voting legislation. And you can't just have a situation where Democrats have 50 in the Senate and slight control in the House, and they're going to jam through all these laws. That's what the filibuster prevents radical leftists doing the things that they want to do. So American people aren't for it. And, yes, was it a riot that got out of control? Yeah. But is it anything more than that? Well, the January 6th Commission is still doing their work. We're not going to get ahead of them on it because, frankly, on a list of an issue that ranks 20th out of 20, and it had to be, it had to find a spot in there because it was named as a list of issues. I don't think people mostly give a rat's ass about what happened on January 6th. They've moved past it. What they are concerned about, while Biden and Schumer are trying to gin up their base and change the filibuster and push these voting rights bills, which again, folks, do you really know anyone that in this country has a hard time voting? I don't. I mean, all across our great country, there are many, many different ways to vote. You can't find any examples anywhere of people that couldn't vote. And yet, what do these Democrats do? They try to push through this fake outrage that there's really an issue with our voting system, and there's not. That's another issue. People don't even perceive it as a problem because everybody knows how easy it is to vote. So again, they've created a non-issue, tried to make it into an issue to placate the far left-wing lunatic base. And Biden's going to go down to Georgia. He's going to spew some stuff. Between now and MLK Day, they're going to really, toll out the mainstream media, pushing that garbage. And in the meantime, Manchin and Sinema are going to sit back and be consistent as they have been and say we don't support changing the filibuster. Schumer's going to try to, he may force a vote on the Senate floor. I mean, I don't know why he would do that when he knows it's going to be defeated. But for some reason, these Democrats, whether it be the Build Back Better bill or voting rights, they keep trying to push bills that only they support. The rest of the country does not. The approval ratings are not high, and it only appeals to the far left-wing radical base. Why they do this makes no sense. They should be focusing on issues that Americans care about, such as Americans are frustrated where, they encounter desolate grocery shelves and empty shelves and high prices when they go to the grocery store. Why? And a lot of that's supply chain driven. We get that. But why can't they focus on pocketbook issues instead of things like voting rights? I mean, 99+% of people have no problem voting. Focus on the issue that people care about, not the arcane inside the beltway voting laws that affect less than 1% of the American people. Come on, get with it. Now, look, Americans are frustrated. They're frustrated with high gas prices. They're frustrated with high rent prices and food shortages and high food prices too. It's all across the country. If I were in that Biden White House, I'd say, Mr. President, focus on the economy. You're going down to Georgia to give a speech on voting rights, and you got two senators that aren't going to budge on the filibuster. Sort of embarrassing when you think about it. They're pushing something that can't go through. But Americans are frustrated with the grocery store and filling their gas tank and paying their rent. So you want to focus on the other, be my guest. That's a ticket to a big loss in 2022. Now, speaking of losses, stock market's been under some pretty severe pressure this year. Why? Well, it's real simple. As interest rates go up, the value of future earnings of technology stocks goes down. And people are looking at some of these technology stocks, some of whom make money, some of whom do not. And they're saying, am I really willing and able to pay 30, 40, 50, 70 times sales, infinity times earnings when some of these companies don't make money at higher interest rates? And right now they're voting with their feet saying no. So you've seen sort of, technology stocks are down year to date. The Dow Jones is down another 300 points today. NASDAQ stock on a percentage basis is getting hit worse. And a lot of technology stocks out there, folks, they're down 40, 50, 60, 70% from their highs. Well, as some of the, quote, air comes out of the balloon, a lot of stock market investors are feeling that pain as interest rates start ticking their way up. And believe me, the Fed minutes came out and said they're going to consider quicker response to inflation, ending bond buying and raising rates sooner than the market had anticipated. You had actually a lot of people in the market that thought Powell wouldn't raise rates as quickly. Thought, well, he can't do it. Well, he's showing a spine to be able to do it this time. So you are seeing some not only profit taking in stocks, but some outright pretty severe declines, particularly in the technology sector. So that's sort of a market update for you. We don't want to end our show without expressing, the sorry and the tragedy for not only the 17 people killed in the Bronx apartment fire, but, obviously cause still being investigated, but we lost some additional Americans in Philadelphia in a fire this past week also. You hate seeing that. Probably a lot of the victims, younger people. We'll see how, the news coming up in the next few days. But we did want to pass along our regrets to the families affected by this, because anytime you see something like that happen, where a large number of people pass in an apartment fire, that's just horrific news to hear. So, look, a lot of good things. Tonight's the college football national championship game. The NFL playoffs are set. We got a repeat tonight, Georgia, Alabama. Georgia's a 2.5 point favorite. So all you college football aficionados out there, I know there's many of you, put on your hat for your favorite team tonight. I'll give you a prediction. I think Georgia wins tonight. So, look, folks, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in here. We appreciate you following us as we had our guest last week, Tom Amenta, Joe Visconti, Mark Schaftlein, broadcasting from Delray Beach, Florida, albeit a little under the weather, but getting better. Thanks for listening today on all your favorite podcast networks, Amazon, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, along with those that view us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and wherever you view us on the internet, flagandcross.com, etc. Thanks for listening today. Stay safe. Have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.